trades. I don't know why. I don't know what happened with Hunter Pence, why he ended up in San Francisco. But the core of that team with player development, they've done an excellent job. Excellent job with player development. And they've made some good free agent signings, but you have to like what they did and with the core of that team. Kansas City, core of that team, minor leaguers. I mean, you look at that roster and so many guys. You look at their I was going to say baseball card, but we really don't do that. Their baseball reference page. A lot of those guys have been with Kansas City, grew up in the system, and they made some good trades. To acquire Shields and Davis. I think the Red Sox are getting more into doing that. And it's tough sometimes in this market because people aren't always for that. But Ben Cherington, I think, has a different philosophy, as does John Farrell, and they believe they have the core pieces in their minor league system. I think that's a big reason why John Lester was let go. And it does sound like a contradiction on what I've always said, at high you need pitching. But this club offensively this year was not going in a good direction. This was the worst outfield in baseball. And you were able to bring in a middle-of-the-order bat. Wow. I think Bryce Brents could eventually be that guy. I think Bogarts could be. But you don't usually call up a 4 or 5 hitter in the big leagues. Cespedes brought that. It's a team effort. They feel, and I think they're right, with Owens, Rodriguez, and Johnson, all lefties, they have a potential to replace Lester. It sounds crazy to say this now, but at one point, John Lester was here, and there was talk about trading him at the deadline, and people in the system said, no, this guy's going to be a 15-year big leaguer. And I know if I had said that at the time when he was in the minors, you think it's crazy. But to get what they got for Lester, you're not going to get that in the offseason. If Oakland was desperate, had they not made that trade, I bet you in the offseason here, it doesn't cost prospects to get Cespedes. It's going to cost you big league guys. So they fixed their outfield system. I think they'll extend them. And their offense changed dramatically, and they feel that the pieces they have in the minor leagues are going to be good for a long time, and I feel they have that. And I think that they're going to have a core coming up that could be a Kansas City-like team, maybe kind of a combination of what the Giants and the Royals did. All right, good first segment. We're here live at Hadlock Field, 775-2217, 866-811-9505. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more after this on 96.3. Nice job, Dave. All right, sounds good. You're live, Sammy.
Oh, hi. Yeah. No, I wanted to see if you got it working.
Yeah, I had to install something.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's working?
Yes, it is.
Cool.
And there is a way that you can take phone calls on that thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I have to figure that out, how to do that. Yeah, look how easy. Yeah. It automatically puts that logo. Yeah.
Perfect.
So easy. Yeah.
So was I wanted to come up and check and see
Yeah.
how that was going.
Yeah. So I saw the other day, he does that 30 and 30 show. I think I showed you that.
Yeah.
So the other day, he just designed the set different. He put the Blue Jackets made him a shirt with his name on the back.
Oh, that's awesome.
I talked to him. I told him, because him and I just, we always talk ideas, but he was happy to hear the feedback because nobody ever says anything to him there. And I told him that you and I were like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like, you really liked all that going in the locker room? I'm like, dude, I was like, yes. I'm like, that's, yeah. He's like, well, I feel like an idiot sending it to break when I'm like, no.
That makes sense.
It's cool. Yeah.
That's like more of a personal feel.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I don't think it's like an everyday kind of show.
No.
But, like,
yeah,
it's definitely.
He said for baseball, he's like, I wouldn't do it every day.
Yeah.
It's different. They don't play every day.
Exactly. But like every once in a while.
Yeah. We'll have to figure it out.
Mix something up, change it around. But,
and I could do it from Fort Myers.
which would be cool too.
Yeah.
When do you go down there?
In March.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we can do all kinds of things. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Or even like when the guys come to work out, I could set up something on top of the dugout. Yeah, I mean, that would look pretty cool.
That would look cool.
You know, you could see them, angle it so you could see them hitting and stuff. That'd be pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if Jeff would even let me do the banquet. I don't know if maybe not advertise it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, that would look, yeah.
He's thinking, like,
yeah.
That's the...
And I asked the radio station if they were okay with me doing this, just because you never know with, like, I don't know, legal things, if we're not supposed to spin.
Let's see why.
No.
Like I said, I mean, if it's going here, because it's going through your YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like if it's going to that, then there shouldn't be any reason that they can't.
No, probably not. Probably. No, they said they didn't care. Hey, we have a couple different options, of course, to get in touch with us. But also, this might be a scary thing, but you can watch us right now. Yes. We like to experiment here on the Saturday Morning Jab. So we have a live stream on YouTube. If you go to my Twitter account at CDogsRadio, you can watch us, and then we can chat as we are broadcasting live. So we're broadcasting live on the radio here on 96.3, the Big Jab. You're home for NFL football tomorrow. As an intriguing game, San Diego will play at Minnesota 12:30. Think about, I would love to be in a war room in Vegas with the odds makers. I don't know if this is true or not. And I think last year I asked this question, and we had people who knew this. I don't think there would ever be a behind the scenes for that. I don't know if there is. I don't know if there's any. Are there any books out of former odds makers? And I know that I did see something once that said a lot of how they do the odds is based on third downs. Third downs is a big part of point spreads. But I would love a reality show. And this is the era of reality shows, right? And how cool would it be to see them talking about the spreads? I think that would be a really cool thing to watch. And man, you know what? It might not work nationally, but I would find that fun to see that war room. Like that San Diego at Minnesota, right? In your mind, you're saying Minnesota has no chance. But their defense isn't bad. San Diego, we know the travel and all that. But that's a tough game. You think it's an automatic. They aren't automatic. St. Louis, San Francisco, we have those games in the Jab. St. Louis and San Francisco have had some really good matchups and very competitive matchups. 775-2217, toll free 866-811-9505. We are live at Hadlock Field, where they're putting on single game tickets today for 2015. This is pretty much the kickoff to 2015. But a nice thing that the Sea Dogs were awarded this year, and it rotates through the teams in the Eastern League. The All-Star Game returns for the first time since 2005. And tickets for that are on sale today. And again, I would urge people interested in the bobblehead games fireworks, Field of Dreams. This is the day. There are so many people I meet on the Field of Dreams Sunday where we kind of redo the Field of Dreams here with the corn. A lot of people told me I got tickets. See, it sounds like a sales pitch, but I know I'm telling you that a lot of those big games, they are sold today. We got Christian Vasquez bobbleheads, Mookie Betts, Henry Owens. Those games, those are what people are buying today. Those big ticket items. So yes, it's November and the season doesn't start till April, which really isn't that far away once we get through Christmas and the New Year's. This is the day you come on down and then you don't have to worry. I know some people say, well, it's November, I'll put it off. And then you come down here in April and May and those fireworks night are sold out, All-Star games sold out, bobbleheads are sold out. This is the time you come on down. Great Christmas presents. I mean, it's perfect. It's great that they put tickets on sale now. And you can pick any of those games you want. That's why there were people here early today, really early, chomping at the bit. So that's going on today. The Sea Dogs were going to have batting practice from 10 to 12, swing for season tickets, but unfortunately the weather has canceled that. Dave Roberts, hashtag the Steal, back in 2004, will be here, and we hope to get Dave on the broadcast with us as well. The Sea Dogs are hosting a sale here, a Hadlock Field yard sale. Saturdays are good for yard sales. We have autographed baseballs, bobbleheads, replica stadium jerseys, and much more. All fans who purchase tickets on Saturday here will receive a 20% off coupon for the Sea Dogs. Our ticket office is open until 3, and phone and internet orders don't start till 12. So you have to come on down and get your tickets live. Again, a good week of sports. My prediction did not work. I was on, and I thank Javier and Russ, who are doing a fantastic job with that show in the afternoon. Fantastic show. And I went on with those guys, and I appreciate it. They had me on talking baseball. I was hoping. I picked the Royals to win in 7 on a walk-off hit, and it didn't happen. Good World Series, a great World Series. I mean, I know some of the games were blowouts, but it really shows you through the course of that series, there's no doubt about it, those are the two best teams. And I don't want to hear anybody say that the best teams did not get here, because that's garbage. There's no such thing as that. The two best teams were there. You think about the ups and downs, and coming out of that World Series after that final out, even when I didn't think the Royals had a chance there against Bumgarner, who just was unbelievable in relief. You can't look at that season as a failure for the Royals, not just because they haven't been there for a while, but the way they played in that postseason. Yeah, the two play-in teams. The way they played in that playoffs. That was a full-out, drag-out fight. And we love to fall in love with words. Games. Oh, that's going to hurt. Oh, they can't recover from that. Both teams showed that. And I've tried to stress that on the show, that a lot of things you hear that, how they're going to overcome that and all that. Players aren't wired like fans. Once they're out there, they're not thinking of those things. The game is too much mentally or physically to deal with that. But look how that series started. Giants beat James Shields in Kansas City. Oh, geez, how are they going to recover from that? A lot of talk going into the World Series was James Shields had to be big in Game 1. They had to win Game 1 or they were going to be in a lot of trouble. They lost Game 1. They get down 1-0 in Game 2. And then what happened? They come back. They win that game. They go to San Francisco. They win Game 3. Yeah, and it's fun to follow this on Twitter. Game 4, they're up, 4-0? And Giants fans were in panic. At that point, it really looked like Kansas City's going to win this. They're going to be up 3-1. And it changed. Everything changed. San Francisco came back. They win. They win Game 5. Then you go to game 6, and a lot of feeling was, 3-2. San Francisco, they'll probably win. But then a lot of people thinking, well, this format's really good. You go 2-3-2. You get to come back at home. You win game 6, and then obviously the game 7. What happens in game 6? San Francisco gets their doors blown off. Then maybe things are swinging the other way, right? Get to game 7. Joe Panic makes that double play. Unbelievable defensive play. Your starters on the road in the last 2 games don't even give you 3 innings. You get blown out game 6. You're able to get the Bumgarner, but that double play changed things. You win a 3-2 game like that on the road to win the World Series. I mean, you look at the ups and downs, but it does show you that you can't get wrapped up in all of that because players have so much going on mentally. And when they're in their batter's box, they're not thinking about where the series is at. They're not thinking of yet. None of that is in there. But what an amazing series with a lot of the players, teams overcoming adversity, and shows you why they got to where they were at. And a successful series and season for Kansas City. It's not a loss if you don't win it all. I've never believed in that. What Kansas City did was unreal, and they've built a great system, as of the Giants, and it translates to the big leagues. 775-2217, 866-811-9505. That's toll-free. You know that. David Cito is back at our Big Jab studios producing, and we'll go out to you. Big Jab, you're on the air. Good morning. Yeah, I don't think he's ever said that. What's that? Sure. Yeah, Madison Bumgarner. I mean, you could. Well, I mean, you look at what happened with Clayton Kershaw, but still, I mean, he helps you. I don't think Ben has ever said that. I think for where they were going, they needed some other parts. Anything else? Okay, guess not. Yeah, I don't think Ben Sherrington thinks that they don't need aces. Do we have someone? Okay, we have another one. Let's go back to the phones. Big Jab, you're on the air. Morning. I don't think so. I don't think you luck your way and break your way into that kind of year. I mean, they have a pretty good core. They still have a good minor league system, and I think they've shown they're not afraid to make some trades. All right, we're back. All right. All right. Hello to everybody watching. We are broadcasting live here from Hadlock Field. All right, back at Hadlock Field, 775-2217, toll free, 866-811-9505. We are live on YouTube here, streaming the show. So you can, I apologize that you have to see me on camera here. We're live at Hadlock Field in the booth that I broadcast the games from. Individual tickets for the 2015 will begin at 9 o'clock. You also can meet and great Dave Roberts, a member of the 2004 Red Sox World Championship. He'll be here from 9 to 11. Phone and internet orders will begin at 12 as the ticket office, individual tickets only 9 to 12. Then phone and internet begin at 12. But our ticket office will be here till 3. We have a Hadlock Field yard sale. Some of the items, autographed baseball, bobblehead dolls, replica stadium jerseys, so much more. Then everyone who purchases tickets today, you get a 20% off coupon for the souvenir store. And again, it's good just for Saturday. I will give my sales pitch again, but I am doing this, and you know I am sincere in all of this. And I've been here now. This will be my 11th season with the Cedars. I've had a lot of people tell me that they got tickets for a particular game on this day because the bobblehead games go quick. We know that. The fireworks, Field of Dreams. There's a lot of the Eastern League All-Star game, but there's a lot of individual games, the promotions that go on sale quick, and this is the day to get them. And yeah, people told me that last year, and I'm like, that's good because I've talked about that before. And I saw some people here, and when I got here today, early at 7 o'clock, there were people already waiting, so they were here earlier. And I met a gentleman that this is a really good story. That his son went to the 2005 Eastern League All-Star game. He's a meteorologist in Kansas, and he called his dad to tell him, hey, get tickets for that this year. The Eastern League All-Star Game is back at Hadlock. I'll fly home. We'll go together. That was a great story, and that was how I opened my day. That was really cool to hear. So it's a big deal. Eastern League All-Star Game. You're going to see some really good players. I remember back in 2005, Hanley Ramirez was playing in the game, as was John Lester, and we can pull up that roster. Let's go to the phones. Big Jab, you're on the air. How you doing? Yes. Really? Well, first of all, with Sandoval's hitting 294 for his career. So I don't know where you're getting the 240, 250 from. He finished 279. Yeah. Sure. Well, okay, I appreciate the call. It's tough to go completely in the system. It just doesn't work here, and people don't go. I mean, I don't mean to criticize Red Sox fans, but it's yes, it got better this year, but they can't go completely young, and you can't look at some of the moves that have not worked and say forget it. There've been moves that have worked. If the Giants used that formula, they wouldn't have traded for Hunter Pence. They've made a lot of moves. Kansas City traded a prospect to get James Shields and Wade Davis. Pablo Sandoval's 27. They're not going to get him. I think the Giants keep him, but his body of work defensively, he's pretty good. I mean, I don't know if he's a Gold Glover, but you can't use history with those kind of guys to say you don't got to get. He's 27. Cole Hamels, not bad. He's had some pretty good years. He's just been hurt. All right, 1 hour down. About 2.5 more to play with. Live from Hadlock. We're back after this, 96.3. All right, everybody. What's that? Okay. All right, back at Hadlock Field, we are live as tickets on sale. Individual tickets for the 2015 season. You can also watch us on YouTube today. We've got our stream through our lovely folks at Google on the Google Hangouts. You can watch our broadcast here live from Hadlock Field. Again, 775-2217, toll free, 866-811-9505. The Sea Dogs have individual tickets on sale for the 2015 season. Today it starts. This is real. Season begins, not that it ever ends for the amazing front office here. They work year round, but there's a lot of planning. Obviously, the season is more involved with games at night, but the involvement and the work that goes into a baseball off season, it's a lot. There's a lot to get going with sponsorships and creating ideas for next year, but it's really young as people think. You have events, and then you get around the holiday times, and once Christmas wraps up and New Year's, and you're back here January the first week. It's close. It's quick that the opening day will be here, and there's a lot that goes into getting the stadium ready. But it's beautiful out right now when you look out and see and they do have the batting cage set up, but unfortunately the swing for season tickets has been postponed today due to the rain. But the season officially kicks off. I always say the 2015 season officially kicks off when you put tickets on sale for the next season. That's what they do today. All-Star game as well. Ticket office is from 9 to 12. Ticket office is open till 3, but you cannot call or order on the internet until 12. We want to see you down here between 9 and 12. You can get tickets for the bobblehead, the fireworks night, Field of Dreams, but the 2015 Eastern League All-Star game returns to Portland for the first time since 2005. Sea Dogs are hosting a Hadlock Field yard sale. They have autographed baseball, bobblehead dolls, replica stadium jerseys, and much more. Fans who purchase tickets today receive a 20% off coupon for the Sea Dogs souvenir store good for Saturday only. And the ticket office, again, is open until 3 o'clock. So that's what we're doing. We're talking a lot of baseball. We're here at Hadlock as the Sea Dogs coming off an historic season, their best record in franchise history, lost in the Eastern League playoffs to the Binghamton Mets. Again, the text line is open at 50352. You have to put Big Jab in the body of your text. Standard text messaging rates apply. Twitter's at Sea Dogs Radio. Facebook, follow all of our shows. All you have to do is just search Saturday Morning Jab or the PM Jab or the Morning Jab. Twitter's at Sea Dogs Radio. Email is mike@thebigjab.com. We thank David Cito producing back in our Big Jab studios. All right, we kick off the 9 o'clock hour with you. Let's go to the phones. Big Jab, you're on the air. Oh, good. How are you? Great point. Great point. Okay. Yeah, I can get that for you. Yes, I appreciate the call. Yeah, that's a good point about the what the Red Sox have that ability and have that ability to put money into scouting and player development. But I think it does show you, and I think this has been a great couple of years for the game in general. And we have seen that how they've been able to use player development, how teams have been able to do that. Think about it a couple of years ago. Something like Kansas City getting to the World Series, you would think there's no way. No chance. And now they've done that. They've been able to do that. And that's great for the game, because this game was going into a territory not too long ago where it was, oh, geez, they keep winning. It's the same teams. Now, again, I think people who say that don't necessarily like that. They just like to complain. Because when the great franchises play, people watch it. But again, the TV ratings, they said, were down. 12 million people to watch World Series games is a lot of people. And Game 7 did really well too. But that's a good point. The Red Sox, you're right. They do have resources from both, but they can actually use that money for scouting. And like you've seen with the Cuban market, I mean, look how much money they're able to dump into that kind of player. That's still where there's a difference. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there's not. Kansas City's probably not going to give Rusney $72 million. Even if maybe they're 70% sure, thing is, those kind of teams, if they did that and it didn't work, I mean, they can't get out of that. The Red Sox can do that and get out of it because they have the money. That's how it works. But that's a really good point. Let's go back to the phones. Big Jab, you're on the air. Good morning. How are you, man? Yeah, you sound like you're out of breath. Well, I'm assuming it's Class A. It would be Thornton Academy and Chevrolet. We thank Lee Goldberg for sending that over. That's where you went? Yeah, Lee set second seed in C West in Class C. Levitt. About the what? I didn't hear the last part of that. I missed that last part of it. 31-17. Wow, that's a confident cat. 31-17. The cap money for that, I don't know. Yeah, NFL, I guess. All right, Big Jab, you're on the air. How's it going? I'm doing good. It does. It's nice to be here too, and it's always weird when I come up to the booth when I haven't been here for a month, but it's nice. Yeah, I think they would if they. I think they internally, and I think this is everybody knows things. I don't think the Giants will let him go. I think they can make too much money off all of it. Maybe this is the business side of me, but that whole Panda thing, I mean, they must have money to keep him, but he said he wanted to stay there the rest of his career. I think when guys are in free agency, I think it's the player who doesn't give the team that they were with a chance, regardless of the money. When Papelbon left, he signed in this time of year in Ellsbury. I don't think they ever – I think some of those guys want to go somewhere else because, they've been with the organization. They want to do new things. But he's been outspoken about that, so I think he's coming back. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the call. Yeah, it's just I could be wrong on this, but I do think when these guys, you got to look at the way the career works for them. I mean, they're drafted by a team young. They could be 21, 22, and they are controlled for 7 years. And I think that at some point, if the game continues to stay as young as it is, because I think the game is getting younger and you're seeing guys go to the big leagues quicker, they're going to have to do something with salary. I know that sounds a little weird, but these guys, for instance, Bumgarner, he made 3.7 this year. It goes up to 6.7. He signed for 2019. There's team options in 18 and 19, but a lot of these guys that do well early, and you look at Bumgarner, he made 750 last year. 750. I know that's still a lot of money, but to go 13-9 with a 2.77 ERA. So you look at the body of work for the last 4 years. The Giants have paid him, let's see, about little under $6 million for 4 years. Total. That's total. And in that time, he has won, let's see, 60 games and had an ERA of about 3.02. So you look at it from his perspective. Now, I'm not saying he would leave. I'm just saying if you look at it from his perspective, he's controlled for so many years. And that's why these guys have a chance. They know I'm going to get paid for previous experience. A guy like him would get 20, 25 in the open market. And if they know the team can't give them that, they'll leave. But I think some guys, they do want to get out of that. They want to go somewhere else. And I think it's a lot on the player. The Red Sox get criticized, but I don't think they really had a saying in that. I think Jacoby had made his mind up, not just because of the money. The guys, depending on when they signed too. When Jonathan Papelbon signed in mid-November, he didn't give anyone a chance. He went right for the money, $60 million. So that's how I feel that with free agency. I mean, Pablo Sandoval coming out and saying he wants to finish his career with the San Francisco Giants, I think that tells you a lot about him. Now, it won't be cheap, but I think the Giants run a pretty good ship. Here's the other thing I find interesting, too. We talk so much about, the Giants play on the West Coast. And maybe they're ignored a little bit. In this day and age, why would they be ignored? We have the internet. We have so many options available. Just because they're out west, everyone knows things about the Lakers or the San Francisco 49ers. It was kind of talked about that this team was so foreign to people because they played on the West Coast. And maybe baseball is more team and nobody else. But, I think if you follow Major League Baseball, you're up to date on the San Francisco Giants. But what Madison Bumgarner did was just – it didn't surprise me from Kenny Joyce being on the air, and I saw him pitch in this league at 19, which is a big deal. A 19-year-old kid pitching in Double-A and dominated. He threw 8 innings against the Sea Dogs in a start in Connecticut. But you really look at how guys handle certain situations. And when you see Madison Bumgarner, it just, he said it, I'm a country boy. I love baseball, but I don't think there's a lot of pressure on someone like him because he knows he's good, right? He's dominant. You hear a lot of things that, well, geez, how did someone like that, young kid, and he just goes out there and dominates? Because he can. He dominates because he's that good. What do you think the other hitters think when they get in the batter's box? And there is an element of postseason that might change players. But I think guys that are really good, and you could argue that Clayton Kershaw, he got in the playoffs and did struggle, but Bumgarner is just he's a different guy, even keel. And, it's great to see something happen that they say it hasn't happened since Walter Johnson. And it's cool to see things happen in sports, like Brady Manning, like what's the height of the NFL quarterback. Hockey's becoming more popular, but to see a World Series where you have something historic that has not happened forever. Now, a lot of postseason stats will be different now because there's more games, but what Bumgarner did is just unreal. The Giants did, 3 World Series in 5 years, and to win in all of the even years, that was pretty cool too. 775-2217, toll free 866-811-9505. We have the show on the road today, live at Hadlock Field. Individual tickets for 2015 on sale today. It began at 9. It goes till 12. Now, the ticket office will be open till 3. You can get your tickets in person here. Then phone and internet begin at 12. So you can't phone or internet orders right now. We'll be here till 3. Dave Roberts is here. The Steel, hashtag The Steel, a member of the 2004 World Series champions. An amazing comeback against the Yankees. That, to me, was the biggest thing, obviously, the World Series, but to overcome that deficit after giving, 19 runs in Game 3. Hadlock Field yard sale is going on. Sluggers here, and, of course, the free coffee and donuts, which is always key. Fans who purchase tickets today receive a 20% off coupon for the Sea Dogs souvenir store, good for Saturday only. We expect to have some guests coming up, and we hope to get Dave Roberts on the air to talk about 2004. You can watch us live. We have our show streaming on YouTube, part of Google Plus, and you can find us at Sea Dogs Radio on Twitter. 775-2217, toll free 866-811-9505. We will take a break. We'll come back with more after this. It's the Saturday Morning Jam on 96.3. All right, cool. This promo is funny, huh? The place where they might move. All right, Jeff Iquesa, who is the general manager of the Portland Sea Dogs, will join us shortly as we are live at Hadlock Field. I'm actually in my booth where I do the play-by-play over on the double 95s, 95.9 and 95.9. The Sea Dogs are putting on individual tickets today. They're on sale. Dave Roberts is here, and if you go onto Portland Sea Dogs on Twitter, you can see him signing autographs. And so he's here, the Steel, and the individual tickets, the Eastern League All-Star Game on sale as well. Listen to the Portland Pirates last night. Jeff Mannix, outstanding job. Good to hear him on the radio again. Is boy, the Pirates who won last night and go to 4-5. That game really turned in the good for them. I mean, it was. I was listening on the way home. I was at UNE last night for their hockey, and geez, they scored a lot of goals late to beat St. John's 7-3. They'll play tomorrow against Albany. That's in Albany at 3 o'clock. We will have the play-by-play beginning at 2:40. So we'll be in Albany. And good one Friday. Pirates are back home. They take on the Providence Bruins. That is, I checked that. They're on the road next Saturday, Lehigh Valley. So the schedule here for Portland, and they're 4-5. The Pirates, a lot of road games to begin the season, which is good. And that means they're going to have a lot of home cooking coming up. And you look around the holidays, they'll be here for the New Year's, and a lot of games in the first part of January. But a nice job there last night by the Portland Pirates. As always, as we do in this show, if you're heading out anywhere locally, we would like to hear from you as well. And we had some people ask about the football Class A, Chevrolet, Thornton Academy, Class B, Marshwood, Brunswick, Class C, Levitt, Winslow, Lisbon, Class D, and East still playing their regular season games. We thank Lee Goldberg for sending that along. 775-2217, 866-811-9505. Big Jab, you're on the air. That's all right. Yeah. Yeah, you are. And actually, we've never met. So even though we're neighbors, it's kind of weird that we've never met. I'll have to meet the gal at some point. I think any behind the scenes like that are great. I find that I have a lot of interest in those kind of segments or those kind of shows that feature the behind the scenes. I think the Bruins behind the Bees great, but I think that would be really cool. And I think as we evolve more with the GoPro cameras, and now that there's so much more. We've gotten to a point with technology, which this is what happens. We want more and more, and we want to be in the locker room. We want to be behind the scenes. We want to see these guys, and I think that the NFL Network has done a good job. Hard Knocks is such a great show because it shows you how hard it is to make a football team. It's how hard they just show you the coach's room, and you learn a lot. And I think it would be cool for baseball if they could do another thing and show a team in spring training what the coaches do in the morning, how they get there. They're watching video every morning. It's a long, dragged-out process, but I think anything to show athletes behind the scenes, I think it helps the kids too. I think kids, in the end, and that's what we should be focused on, as ways to benefit the future. And I think we see a lot of good NFL quarterbacks because they grew up watching some great players. You know, the guys in the league saying, yeah, I grew up watching Tom Brady, Joe Montana, John Elway. And I think it does follow down. And I think to see these guys behind the scenes is certainly a good thing. The Patriots with the cap, I know this was a big thing with people, and this was, it's kind of like the flavor of the day because they didn't spend to the max on their cap to begin the season, which no team should ever do. That's foolish to do. And they went to, now they had about $9 million in their cap. Now it's not like, I could understand if people were mad. The cap was about 131, and the Patriots were about 122. So that's over 90% of their cap spent, about 92%. If they spent in the 60s, yes, I would be mad. You leave cap space open. There are some roster bonuses. I believe I heard Mike Reese saying about $4.5 to $5 million they had to have in part of their cap for some bonuses late season, and if they're going to re-sign any players, or if they were going to possibly make any moves. So, I mean, you don't want to go into a season locked in at zero, and I don't think that the teams that have done that, I mean, the Rams overspent, and it's not working out for them. They did put a lot of money. The Patriots, there's some misconception that they don't go out and spend money on players. I mean, Darrelle Revis has cost them a lot. They spent a lot of money on Darrelle Revis. He was $7 million. They re-signed Vince Wilfork. He is $7 million on the cap. Amendola they spent a lot on, which has not worked out. They spent a lot on Dan Connolly. Matthew Slater makes $2.3 million to be a special teams guy. So, I mean, they went out. They signed Browner. They've made trades recently. So I think they have tried to improve their team. But I think it's good to have some cap space in case you have to do something. And they've had injuries. And not all the teams that spend to the max are the teams that are in the playoffs. But, again, if you want to talk about tomorrow's game and how you feel, we had one prediction that said 31-17 Patriots. I think I'm looking at like a 27-25 or 26, a crazy score. And I will reveal who I think would be a shocker, who I picked to win at the end of the show. I think the NFL now, as we've progressed, and it came up on Mike and Mike on ESPN, had Bill Belichick on yesterday, and I thought Bill was outstanding on there, and I think because he was in a comfortable setting and it was on ESPN, but there were still some questions that he didn't answer completely. But Mike Goldberg brought up the fact that, how things have changed, and we've talked about this with mini camps and how these guys aren't practicing as much, and Bill Belichick made a good point. It is the same for everybody, but I thought in the first 3 to 4 weeks, which kind of is now an extended preseason, the game kind of looked like that. I thought the first 3 or 4 weeks around the league, we had games, and I think we gave you the statistic. In the first 4 weeks of the season, the winning team was averaging, I think, 13.5 points was the win total. We saw some really bad games, and I think it's kind of fixed itself in the last few weeks. You can see the teams are now built. The NFL is not a sport where when you tee it up week 1 or 2, that's how you are later. But for some reason, NFL fans seem to forget that every year, and we still live off every week. And I just don't understand why we keep doing this. We live off every week. We did this last year when the Denver lost to San Diego on Thursday night. We said, that's going to change. San Diego, they're going to give them a tough game. And I didn't think they would in the playoffs, and they didn't. And we kind of live off all of that. And a lot of it, it's not just the any given Sunday. A lot of it is matchups where certain teams are stronger in a certain matchup. I think if you watched was it the Monday night game? The Cowboys and Redskins game. If you watched that game, every third down the Redskins were blitzing Romo. For some reason, the Cowboys didn't change protection, and Romo got killed. That's why he got hurt. Now, in that particular game, that matchup was a problem all night for the Cowboys. Even though the Redskins didn't have a good record, it doesn't mean that there can't be a part of their game that can present a matchup problem. Yeah, that's the case for a lot of teams. It's not just that you flip a coin every week. There are certain positions that teams don't defend. If you don't defend the run well and you're facing a team that doesn't run the ball well, well, your defense might have an okay day. I think we've seen that for some teams. And if you're a fantasy football player, you probably know that because you're, involved in all these matchups anyways. If you watch that Pittsburgh Colts game on Sunday, where the Colts had heading to Big Ben, they couldn't get the Big Ben. They were not very good covering those receivers who have, I think, present a different problem for the Colts. You looked at the way Bryant and Wheaton were getting separation, and Antonio Brown's just Antonio Brown. But that particular matchup was not good for the Colts, and the Colts have had a tough time with their defense in the last couple of years, and I think you see that. I think that's why you see some upsets. It's not just, we act like it's, football game is still 4 quarters. There's still a lot of time. I think there's a lot of matchups that some teams just don't have, and they can get exploited. Even teams that aren't good, they can present a matchup problem. I think you look at the Philly-Houston game. I think there's a lot of things that Houston does on defense that can be a tough matchup for some teams, especially teams running the ball. Now, when Houston has played some passing teams, they've really struggled in coverage because if they face a team with a very strong offensive line, we saw that the way the Patriots and Broncos were able to beat Houston, protecting their quarterback, making their secondary cover, it just didn't work. So, I think that's the great thing and the unique thing about the NFL is that there's so much schemes and there's so much different matchups that's why it causes so many different upsets and you see things happen every week. And it will be interesting. Some people are now looking at overlooking Jacksonville. Can Oakland be the team that loses out? And you look at that game coming up Sunday. Oakland's not good against the run. You would think Seattle's going to have a good time in that game running the football with a very good running back in Marshawn Lynch. So it's fun to look at those matchups and see the teams that get exploited. But I think now we're kind of settling in. Week 9, I think it started a couple of weeks ago where we're seeing the true football, and this is where it kind of starts now towards Thanksgiving, and we see some good things happen in the NFL, and it continues to be. Live at Hadlock Field, individual tickets on sale for 2015. Dave Roberts is here signing autographs. The Eastern League All-Star Game, tickets available for that. The ticket office open at 9. The phone and internet orders won't begin until 12 o'clock. So you can't get tickets on the phone or internet until 12. But the Sea Dogs ticket office will be here all day until 3 o'clock. You can meet Dave Roberts. He's here right now until 11, 9 to 11. He'll meet and greet the fans, a member of the 2004 World Champion Red Sox. Also, we have Slugger here, free coffee and donuts. We have a Hadlock Field yard sale going on. Some of the items, autographed baseballs, bobblehead dolls, replica stadium jerseys, and so much more. You get a 20% off coupon today for the souvenir store only today if you purchase tickets. 775-2217, toll free. 866-811-9505. We'll hit the phones. Big Jab, you're on the air. How you doing? Thank you. I think, the one thing I would worry about with the Steelers is defensively. I don't think it's a show at all. I've never been a Steeler hater. I was shocked at how they played early in the year, but I don't think you can put – I think we've seen. It's no surprise that they schedule a lot of these big games later in the year. It's not. You're not going to see Denver and New England play earlier in the year. There's something to – and I heard a lot of football experts and former players say in the last – bargaining agreement, this is what the players wanted. Less practice in pads, less tackling. Practice time has been cut down, which has really made the first couple of weeks of the regular season exhibition. And these guys aren't even playing preseason. And then all of a sudden they're asked to play 60 minutes. So the first few weeks looked ugly. But Pittsburgh's 5-3. This is a huge game. Sunday, they beat Baltimore at home. And they go on a little roll there. Why wouldn't Pittsburgh be in the conversation? Why not? They lost. I mean, and they played Baltimore early, which is division games. It seems like for some reason in the NFC West, they play all their division games now. I believe Arizona hasn't even played Seattle yet. They play, I think, almost all their division games in the second half. For some reason, Baltimore, Pittsburgh always seem to play early. I don't know why they do that. That the Patriots play the Jets early in the year every year. Maybe ratings. I don't know. Obviously, everything. I mean, there's a method to it. You look at their losses. The Tampa Bay loss. I mean, that was bad. That was at home. Didn't play well against Baltimore. Didn't play well at Cleveland. But, I mean, they scored 51 points against Indianapolis. Now, they gave up some points. But, I mean, Big Ben is still a top quarterback. Bell is, to me, I think, top 5. He's going to be like a LaShawn McCoy type of guy. I mean, they've got – you look at their skill position players on offense. I mean, and Brown. And, Bryant, Latavius Bryant, it's taken him time. He hasn't played a lot. I think he's only caught his passes the last 2 weeks. Think about what the Steelers did. And there's always this thing that only the Patriots let go of guys. I mean, they let go of Mike Wallace and Emmanuel Sanders because they can't pay those guys. They kept the right guy. I mean, they've done a good job moving on to this era with Big Ben. They still have Heath Miller, but they drafted a good running back. They got excellent receivers. Offensive line is, up and down. It's been like that. That's been their fall for a while. Defense, still not sure. They're older defensively. But I thought they looked pretty good last week. After they lost to Cleveland. That happens. It does. And it hadn't happened in a long time. But you look at their schedule coming up. I mean, if they win Sunday and go to 6-3, they got the Jets and Tennessee on the road, winnable games. They play New Orleans at home. They're at Cincinnati. They're at Atlanta. Then they have Kansas City and Cincinnati. Which I don't like that they play Cincinnati 2 of the final 4 games. I don't like that. But when we talk about, them beating Indianapolis was huge in terms of a possible tie. And we look at some of the teams that we think are going to get first-round byes. We look at the Broncos. We look at the Patriots. But why wouldn't the Colts? Well, the Colts would be there, obviously, but Pittsburgh. It's crazy to think. They're not even in the top 6 right now. And I think the AFC this year is, I know people probably won't agree. I think the AFC is pretty good. I think it's a little more competitive. The NFC, Arizona, Detroit. We sold in Detroit, Dallas, New Orleans, Philly, Green Bay. Teams outside looking in, San Fran, Seattle, the Giants. That's about it. You look at the AFC, you get Denver, New England, Cincinnati, Indy, San Diego, Buffalo. How about that, Buffalo? But then Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Miami, Cleveland. All those teams over 500. In the NFC, you only have 8 teams over. But, Pittsburgh wins on Sunday, and they go they end up going 8-3 or 9-3. They're going to be in the conversation. But that was a huge win for them last week. Huge. 4-4, they're behind Cleveland. They're in the 12th seed. Think of that. So even though it was not a division game, those conference games are really big. And I do. I mean, watching them, I think that the Steelers, their success is, I think, the same with a lot of teams. But with Pittsburgh, it's not usually their defense. But I think it's simple with them. And Baltimore, they're a tough team to figure out. But they're a team that still scares me because they are so consistent. They have rebuilt their team. They got heavily criticized for a lot of the moves they made. Ray Lewis retired. But that's how they do things. Ozzie Newsome is a Bill Belichick disciple, and he has said the blueprint of how they maneuver the salary cap, how they value players is similar. They lost Ray Rice, we know that. They lost Dennis Pitta. They've had injuries, but you look at some of their losses. They lost to Cincinnati twice, which isn't good. They lost to Indy by a touchdown at Indy. But you look at some of their wins. Pittsburgh, they beat Cleveland, they trounced Carolina, Tampa, and Atlanta. So, they haven't played the cream of the crop, but I still like how that team is constructed because they can still play defense. Joe Flacco doesn't lose many games for them. He's consistent. I think if Joe Flacco was on Cincinnati, I think that's a legitimate Super Bowl team. But they're consistent. They have, you look at it the same breath with looking at their upcoming schedule. If they beat Pittsburgh, then they got Tennessee, at New Orleans, San Diego, at Miami, at Cleveland. So that division is pretty interesting. It is really interesting coming down the stretch because you have Cincinnati. Now, I don't think people are feeling great about them. They're still 4-2-1. They're not going to have Bernard Sunday. Jeremy Hill's a pretty good backup running back. Green might not play. That's going to be interesting to see how that division shapes up in the next couple of weeks because it could go either way, and we'll see. Big Jab, you're on the air. How you doing, Chris? Yeah, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. You score 51 points is yeah. I think Big Becken's underrated. I don't know what more he has to do to prove that he's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Sure. Yes. Yes. No, they go at Indy, Detroit, at Green Bay, at San Diego. Let me ask you something. This sounds conspiracy, but it's not. When they made free agent decisions this year, they had to factor in bringing me the way I feel right now. If they had their secondary of a few years ago, they have no chance winning these games. No chance. Sure. You never know, right? Yeah. Unbelievable. All right, Chris. Yeah, a lot of ups and downs. I appreciate the call, Chris from New Hampshire. Like I said earlier, a lot of talk going in. A lot of people, a lot of the baseball people, I watch MLB Network, listen to a lot of the radio. They really felt that if the Royals lost Game 1 with Shields, because Shields had kind of struggled, and if they lost that first game, it would make it very hard for them to come back. They did. They lost Game 1. They get down 1-0 right away in Game 2. They win that game. They go and win Game 3 in San Francisco. And following Twitter, Game 4, Giants fans were panicking. I have some friends that are Giants fans. When it was 4-0 Kansas City, you know, it was kind of moving. It's like a seesaw, and it was getting heavy on the one side where the Royals were sitting, knocking you off that seesaw. And they came back and won that game. That was huge. Now, obviously, that was the game for me. Yeah, Game 7 was big, but the Giants were going in a spot where it was not looking good in Game 4. They come back, they win that game. They win Game 5. Then what's Kansas City do? They come home and you feel good when you're home. And I think when you're breaking down the matchups and you're saying, does Kansas City have a chance? Well, down 3-2 and at home, you're feeling, hey, they have a great chance. Because I feel that home field advantage in baseball is the ultimate of any sport because the rules are different. Now, that's not maybe the season. The home teams aren't winning a lot. We're not having a lot of walk-off wins. But the fact is, they win 10-0 Game 6. And then what happens in Game 7? There's some runs early. Joe Panic turns that huge double play. Bumgarner goes 5 scoreless. It also, and I wanted to bring this up too, it shows you how hard it is to win. We take it for granted. We throw championships for these teams, and we throw away teams like, oh, if they don't win, they're a failure. It is so hard to win. Think about it. I mean, I know that sounds like I'm dumbing down. It's not easy to get there in the course of a baseball season the way you have to manage your team. You know, people ask me, I had a lot of, how come Kansas City didn't win more games during the regular season? Well, you can't play the same way in the regular season. That was one thing that was driving me nuts with the announcers. And I don't like to pick on people who are in the field that I'm in, but one thing I didn't like hearing over and over was, geez, Kansas City didn't do these kind of things during the regular season. Well, you can't use relievers 4 days in a row. And they were talking about that. There are regular season where guys have to have rest. You know, people, how come Kansas City didn't win more? Well, I mean, they were pacing some of their relievers. You can't have Wade Davis throw 130 innings. There are going to be days where he's unavailable for 2 to 3 days. And, Ventura, the hard thrower, and Holland. So that happens. In postseason, you're different. A bullpen built like that with those kind of arms in a short series, you can use them every day. In the regular season, you can't use those guys every day. You can't use Bumgarner in relief. They would never do that. But it just shows you, with all of that, with what Madison Bumgarner did in playoff starts, with the fact that the Giants went up 3-2, their starters ERA outside of Bumgarner was 9.5. But with the contributions they got from Sandoval, Pence, and Bumgarner, an ace who delivered, they still almost lost the World Series. It was hard. For as amazing as the bullpen was of the Royals, they fell short. But for me, I don't feel like it was a lost cause for them at all. But they were, I mean, that to me, even though they did not win the World Series, that was an amazing run. We'll take a break now, and then we'll come back with more after this on 96.3. Let's go.
You ready for me?
Yeah, you want to?
All right, yeah.
Do you think I can Dave?
He's slammed.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay.
The line just doesn't get shorter.
Well, that's good.
It's different than what Cabrera, and Cabrera was great, but
Yeah.
That line just doesn't, it hasn't gotten shorter yet.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
He was also, he's really engaging, so like he's great. He's like talking to you. He's
Good.
talking to people through quick, so.
We get this working.
All right,
Yeah.
hey. All right.
Yeah, there's some good pictures.
Yeah, he's great.
That's awesome. It's good doing the show from here. I think it's
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad he couldn't be outside like a nice day.
yeah. Maybe next year I can think about doing it out here during the.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
If we weren't going to do swing for season tickets and it was a nice day, I thought about having him sign at second base.
Yeah.
But all mood anyway.
Yeah.
So.
What else is going on, Andy?
No, not much. Just gearing up. You?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excited for the season.
Yeah. Me too.
Curious to know who our coaching staff will be. I think Billy will be back. I'm curious.
No. No.
He still might be, but we'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens. I would love it if they were all back. They're all great.
Me
people.
too.
They're all great people.
I don't know if Brandon's coming back.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on in AAA.
Are we live?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with the triple. I don't know.